Codex entry 72. The Yaga, 12th day of the bitter moon, year of the withered oak. The air is heavy here, thicker than the usual cold of the northern reaches. Rasaya, a forsaken land where even the sun seems to fear its own shadow. I arrived under a leaden sky where clouds like bruises choke what little light remains. There is no life here, none that should be. The earth is bitter, the trees twisted as if recoiling from some unseen hand. Death has taken root deep in this soil. The village lies in ruin. I came upon it as dusk settled, the hour where the light no longer belongs to the living. The wind carries the stench of rot, so thick I could taste it. It clung to the back of my throat, an unwelcome reminder that the dead outnumber the living here. The buildings are husks, skeletal remains of what was once home to men, women, and children. Their windows gape like empty sockets, staring vacantly as I pass. Nothing stirs. Even the crows know better than to stay. At the center of the village square, I dismounted. My horse, loyal but unnerved, would go no further. I could feel it then, her presence. The witch. Her foul magic clung to the air like the stench of carrion. I knelt briefly, pressing my hand to the earth, feeling the hum of dark power that coursed beneath. She was close, too close, and then I heard it. Her laugh. It was not the sound of a woman, but of something far older, far more malevolent. It crawled into my skull like a parasite, turning the marrow in my bones to ice. The ground beneath me trembled, a shallow quake at first, but growing stronger. The dirt shifted, and from it rose the dead. They came slowly at first, the freshly turned earth vomiting out bodies twisted in mockeries of their former selves. Their eyes, if they still had eyes, glowed with a sickly green light, the telltale mark of her corruption. More poured out from the homes, bursting through doors and windows, pulling themselves free of the shadows they once inhabited. Their stench hit me like a wall, the rot of human flesh, bloated and sun-baked, mixed with the wet musk of newly decayed soil. They surrounded me, closing in from all sides. I could see their lips, what remained of them, curling into grotesque smiles, mocking, eager. I didn't wait for them to strike first. I unslung the flask of flammable oil from my belt, coating my silver sword in the thick, acrid liquid. The blade hissed as I struck my flint, igniting it in an instant. Fire raced along the edge, hungry for flesh, and I could feel its heat against my skin. The dead hesitated, if only for a moment, their vacant eyes flickering with something resembling fear. I seized that moment. Plunging my sword into the ground, I whispered the incantation taught to me by the old priests, the ones who spoke in tongues men were not meant to know. The earth trembled in response, and from the point where my sword pierced the soil, a surge of holy fire erupted. It roared like a beast set loose, spreading outward in a violent wave, a cleansing light in a land long since forsaken by hope. The fire consumed the dead. Flesh and bone turned to ash in an instant, their bodies disintegrating before they even had a chance to scream. I watched as the first wave of the undead fell to nothing more than heaps of charred remains, the square littered with blackened bones and smoldering ash piles. The holy fire faded, but its mark remained, burnt earth where the dead once stood. The witch's laughter cut through the silence once more, louder now, mocking me. She was near, but she would not face me yet. No, she preferred to watch from the shadows, to let her puppets soften me first. This was her game, and I was a player in it whether I liked it or not. The dead would rise again, and soon. But I would be ready. I pulled my sword from the scorched earth, the flames still flickering along its edge. The hunt had just begun.